Hello, Chicago. Welcome to Live Life on IntellectualRadio.com. Listen, guys, we're not here last Wednesday, so we are happy to be back with you. And let me tell you, we have an exciting show for you today. Um, you and me and Dr. Harvey, that is Dr. Jones. I'm sorry, we have an exciting show for you today. On this day, we're going to talk about the decade of your 20s, how important it is to be successful in your 20s, to take advantage of your 20s. We're going to try something a little different with Live Life for the month of August. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a series of shows. And during those shows, we hope that you're able to take away some great information. We hope that you feel like you're going to learn a lot, you're going to laugh, you're going to might even do a little crying, to tell you the truth. So today's show is going to be about the decade of the 20s. Next Wednesday, we're going to talk about the mishaps that can happen in your 20s. And then the following week, we're going to talk about education, everything around education. Is a degree worth it or not? Booker T. Washington, W.E. Du Bois, they had different positions on that. And then the last week, we're going to talk about how there's a company that's got together to be able to help people who have actually ex-offenders, ex-offenders. So yeah, we should have a great month, guys. We are excited to be here, excited to be back. Can't wait to tell you about our weekend and my vacation, as well as Dr. Jones and her weekend and how everything went with that. So we're going to take a break right now, and then we'll be back, and so that we can kind of gather it and pull it all together. So we see you in a minute. Take a break. Make sure you stay with Live Life on Intellectual Radio. All right, guys, welcome back to Live Life on Intellectual Radio. We are going to get started with our show, but before we get started, we first want to talk about our weekend, and I would like to talk about my vacation and share with you guys what that was about and the people that I met, and I actually got a little bit of Black history from that as well. So my Black history question will come from my vacation. So Dr. Jones, I'll start with you. How was your weekend?
Very interesting. It started with a funeral. My sister passed away. So my brother from Minnesota came to town. My sister from Indianapolis came to town. So we went to the funeral. We went to the burial. We went to the repast. We were also having a family reunion this very same day with cousins from California that we haven't seen in 40 years. So we left the funeral, the repast, and we went to the family reunion. We just kind of like all hung out that day. So we went to the family reunion. We got to see my cousins from California that we hadn't seen in 40 years since they moved away. So that was pretty cool. And we just fellowshipped, had a real good family time with them. And following that, we were having in our hometown, in our city where the family reunion was, a Senators Day, which was our high school team's name, East Chicago Washington Senators, at the park. So we went over there and we got to see people once again that we hadn't seen in 30, 40 years. So it was like a big family reunion there as well. So it turned out to be a very tiring but very fun-filled weekend for us.
Didn't you have a class reunion the weekend before?
The weekend before, we had the class reunion, and we got to see people that we hadn't seen in 40 years once again. So it was pretty exciting. In fact, it was our 40th class reunion. We never had one before. And I was on the committee to initiate that reunion. It actually turned out pretty well. We had on Thursday, the 28th of July, a meet and greet in our hometown, East Chicago, Indiana, followed by a cruise on the Spirit of Chicago on Friday. And following that, we wrapped it up with a picnic in the park, Washington Park, also in our hometown of East Chicago, Indiana. All of the events were very beautiful, so we really, really had a good time. Very tiring, though. It was a long, extensive project, a year. We were working on that project for about a year.
Wow, sounds good. So let me tell you about my week. As I stated to you guys last Wednesday, we were not here because I was on vacation last Wednesday. So my vacation started on that Tuesday, actually, Tuesday before the show. So that would have been August the 2nd. So we started off in Springfield, Illinois. And in going to Springfield, we went there because my husband had this convention going on and he wanted to take his family with him. And that was fine, but he was in meetings the whole time. But we had a good time nonetheless. We still took advantage of Springfield. So we got an opportunity to go to Lincoln Tombstone, which was great. If you guys have never been there, I'm telling you, you want to go to Lincoln Tombstone as well as Lincoln Museum. Great place to go. Lots of, awesome history. Springfield, it was 95 degrees the whole time we were there. So we were burning up. I mean, it was hot. So we ended up, I love Black history. So that's why we do the 5 W's of Black history. So I got an opportunity to go to this it's called an African American History Museum in Springfield, Illinois. And I told them I was going to do a shout out to them. So a shout out to Dr. King. Dr. King is the director there. And I got an opportunity to meet with him as well as his assistant. And them showing us around the museum, me and the kids, gave us unbelievable history. In fact, it kind of leads me into our 5 W's of Black history. You notice the last time we were on the air, I talked about my uncle, who was this renowned photographer. He had actually was one of the first photographers to take pictures of the stars on the red carpet. But when we were in Springfield, there was a riot that took place. And let me tell you, and I couldn't believe it. In fact, the anniversary of the riot is coming up August the 14th. Yeah, August the 14th, it'll be coming up. So this is going to my question comes from me visiting the African American History Museum in Springfield. The question is, why did the race riot in Springfield, Illinois in 1908 occur? Guys, can you tell us why? I would like, you can either call in 708-223-8953, or you can text me or Dr. Jones with the answer. So why did the race riot in Springfield, Illinois in 1908 occur? So I'm telling you, that came as a result of me going to Springfield. I learned so much Black history. I'm going to have some questions for y'all to come over the next few weeks. So I'm really, really excited about that. So that's our Black history question for today. Please contact us before the show is over with. So now what we're going to start with, our segment always begins with entertainment, politics, and what's happening here and what's happening abroad. So we're going to start with politics. As you know, there's so much going on with politics right now. The biggest thing that I want to talk about is Mr. Donald Trump, who is the actual nominee for the Republican convention. He has recently made another I can't do the but laugh. Another idiotic statement. There's no other way to put it. He basically sounds like he was threatening Hillary Clinton by saying to people concerning the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, you guys can do something to say it. You can do something about her. If you paid attention when he said the speech, there was someone behind him that his mouth went like wide open and he started laughing. He was like, did he really say what he said? But see, this is not a joke because the Secret Service, they actually sent out a tweet. I believe it was a tweet saying, hey, we realize what just happened here. We're paying attention. When you think about a world leader, a possible world being able to incite violence, if you look
Hmm.
at the things that Donald Trump has said over a lot of things that will to say, okay, violence is okay. And now he makes this statement, which he said that he wasn't saying that. He was just saying that the people who believe in the Second Amendment, they should all rally against her, Hillary Clinton, and not vote for her. So they don't want to put her in office. So that's what he said he meant by that. But if you guys heard the statement, it didn't sound like that. It was like you have to be careful of your words and what you say. But that's our possible president.
Well, he's put a lot of things out there that really gives you a fright. Even the comment that he made about idolizing Putin, which is our adversary, and we have allies that we work with, against that particular, regime, and he's advocating for him. So not only can he excite violence, he can excite a war.
That's true.
So, he has to be very, very careful as to what he's putting out there in the atmosphere. And he doesn't seem to be cautious, careful, or anything. He just says whatever it is that comes to his mind. And that's really scary, being that he's trying to be the leader of a first world country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just gives you a whole lot to think about. And it should give the American public as a whole lot to think about. If you're watching any of this political arena, I mean, you have to know you definitely have to make an informed decision, and you definitely have to get out and vote.
That's what I was going to say. Get out and vote, guys. Make sure you get out and vote. Exercise your American right, your fundamental right in order to vote. There are a lot of people who fought for us to have an opportunity to vote. So get out and vote. And don't get upset if he gives you didn't vote. It's scary when you think about it. So I would say definitely.
But not only did they fight for us, they died for us. There was a lot of people that lost their lives as a result of trying to ensure that there was equality and that we had the constitutional right to vote. It
Mhm.
was so many people that lost their lives in that fight.
Yeah.
So it is really detrimental that we take advantage and exercise our right to vote.
Well said, Dr. Jones. So, what's happening right here in the United States and what's happening abroad? So, right here in the United States, if you guys haven't heard, the Department of Justice has come out with their investigation that they've been doing over the 15 months. And this had to do with as a result of the Freddie Gray's death in Baltimore, Maryland. The Department of Justice came out and they basically said that there's systemic racism going on in Baltimore. Police disproportionately African American males. And for those of us in Chicago, live in a big city, we know that these things are happening. So when it came to blacks, let's say there were 1,000 blacks that were being stopped for different reasons. Out of that 1,000, 460 of them actually, 460 of them were not arrested, but harassed more or less or stopped by the police. Whereas under that same group of that 1,000 whites, it was only 150. So blacks were 95% more likely to be stopped by cops in Baltimore. That's a huge percentage. And especially when you think about it was In fact, it only came from two black communities within Baltimore, which make up 17% of the population of Baltimore. And out of that 17%, 44% of them are African Americans. And for the really egregious acts, because they had a lot of egregious acts. In fact, there was this one woman who was strip searched by the police. She made in public. They made her stand on the sidewalk and strip search her. I mean, totally naked to the point where they put on the purple gloves to see whether or not she had anything inside of her body. And this was in public. So for the egregious acts that occurred, those police officers were fired. Now, according to the mayor who also spoke today on CNN, they were not waiting on the Department of Justice to come up with their report. They actually started making changes right away. So they say that they're moving in a direction to make Baltimore better and to hope to set an example for other states. But those of us who live in large municipalities, we know that this is happening over and over again. And you can look at it across the board. Racism is running rampant. And now the Department of Justice, after their 15-month long investigation, said that yes, this is definitely happening in Baltimore. There's an investigation going on in Chicago too right now, and we haven't gotten the results of that.
Well, yeah, they even found, the Justice Department found that it is intentional racism that's going on in Baltimore. And what's even more alarming about this racism with the police is that in that Freddie Gray case, all of those police officers walked. None of them were held accountable for what they did to that young man. And you're just seeing that more and more. And statistics show that 97% of the police officers are getting off in these violent crimes that are targeted toward African American male, African American women, even African American children. So I don't know if Baltimore is focusing on de-escalation as a solution to correcting this problem, or what their primary focus is, but it's definitely something that America is going to have to take a look at, because it's just too astounding what we're faced with when we go outside every day. I mean, you just never know what may happen. It could be you that's stopped, and treated in that manner and end up losing your life. It's like they're just snatching life out of people. And something has to be done about it.
I agree. So the Department of Justice, like I said, they're moving forward. They said that they put a lot of plans in place, as well as the mayor, as well as the police commissioner. And the police commissioner, he spoke also. He said that we are definitely going to set an example for other cities, that this cannot happen. This will not tolerate it. If you do not want to be a police officer to treat people fairly, then you will not be a police more. So at least they're trying. And sad it is, guys. Sad it is. So what's happening abroad? We want to talk about what's happening abroad. I got an opportunity to watch the Olympics for the first time yesterday. And so we're going to talk about the Olympics and how the United States faring in Rio de Janeiro. And our gymnastic team, they won the gold. They call themselves the Final Five. The Final Five. They won the gold medal. And we have our Gabby Douglas, who was there 4 years ago. She's a part of that team. And Simone Biles, I believe is her name. Simone Biles, she's the one that's really setting records. So they won a gold. And then you have the men's swim team, Michael Phelps. They also won a gold. So with that being said, that's what the United States is doing abroad. One thing I can say is that every time I hear our national anthem played, it kind of gets me excited, riled up, and despite the things that are happening within this country, I've had an opportunity to travel abroad before. And in traveling abroad, I enjoyed it. I had a great time, but there really was nothing like coming back home. And so the Special Olympics, not the special, did I really say Special Olympics? See where my mind went. The Olympics, they really make you feel proud to be American. Medal, and you see those flags when they, are risen and they go up in the air, and the United States flag goes up above all the other flags. It really is a proud moment.
Yeah, it definitely is. And if there was any to who are the best as it relates to women gymnastics, we definitely answered that clarion call because we had two consecutive Olympic gold and world championships titles in 2011, 2014, and 2015. And what's even more impressive is that Allie Reisman, the final five, Allie Reisman, Gabby Douglas, first-time Olympian, Madison Koshian, Lori Hernandez, and Simone Biles, they not only won the gold medals, they had an unbreakable habit of winning. They led the competition from start to finish, and they didn't win with just a few points to claim that victory. And the key thing, one of the things that Allie Reisman pointed out that she stated was the key to their success was that they were all confident. They walked into the competition with confidence, thinking that they're number one. And with that confidence, it allowed them to go in and do just like Nike, just do it. So that was just really, really impressive, and a very proud moment that the final five could contribute that to the States. And it does. It really makes you feel proud that you are an American when you see that.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so we want to give hats off to all of the final five and congratulate them on their victory.
Yes, definitely, definitely. United States, keep winning, guys. Keep winning. Keep winning. So entertainment. That's our last segment within this. Entertainment, we want to talk about Marvin Gaye.
Well, there was a headliner on the news today about someone claiming the rights to his song, Let's Get It On. And I understand that there's been controversy before in the media about someone allegedly trying to take ownership of this song that he wrote. And I think that his family is garnering towards a lawsuit with this.
Well, I think that this is an old case, so I don't know why they're bringing it back up thick. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they made a decision in this right now. And I know you said you saw it on the news. I personally didn't get a chance to read the headlines or find out more about it. But I know that there was a lawsuit concerning Robin Thicke stealing a portion of his song, Let's Get It On. And so maybe that was the finality to it in terms of what you saw. So we'll check into that and find out, guys, if that's the case. Right now, we're going to take a break, make certain you guys come back and continue, because I'm telling you, we have a great show for you. We're going to talk about how to take advantage of your 20s, the important decade of the 20s. It's not as people say it is. Trust me, it is not. So come back to Live Life on Intellectual Radio. We'll be back in a moment. All right, guys, welcome back to Live Life on Intellectual Radio. We are now getting ready to get into the heart of our show. Our show, actually based on a book, Dr. Meg J. Yeah, Dr. Meg, Defining Decade, Making the Most Out of Your 20s. See, now, a lot of times people, 30, and when people say that, you're like, okay, based throughout your time, it's not important. But when you think about it, what they're saying to you is that adolescence is going to go on much into adolescence until you're 29. Then once you turn 30, then you can become serious about it. Well, not according to Dr. Meg J. She's like, no, advantage of your 20s, because the 20s can propel you into a success in your life as far as family, whether or not you get married, have children, whether or not you can own your own business, whether or not you're more financially sound. So 20s shouldn't be about kicking it the entire 20s. Maybe the first 2-3 years you can do that, but you need, realize that this is an opportunity for you to make a big difference in your life. Not wait until you get 40 to say, okay, now I'm gonna get my career going. No, by the time you do it in your 20s, if you come up with a plan, by the time that time comes, when you get, you'll be more ready for it. So those are the things, some of the things that Dr. J talked about to some of the things that we've learned. Actually, my daughter, who is 20 years old, she's been on the show before, guys. She goes to Boston College. She's the one that told me about the book, so she's actually reading it now. So I'm very proud of her for reading it. And so I'm like, okay, we're going to make a whole show on this book. Because, again, like I stated, for this month, we want to be able to give you something that you can take away, something that you can learn from. You can as well go get the book yourself, read it. Maybe you're out of your 20s, but you want to go back and do the things that you should have did when you were in your 20s to get state for your 30s or your 40s, or whatever your age is, if you've missed that opportunity. But now we're talking to the 20-year-olds now, saying, hey, guys, take advantage of, because we have so much going on in our country, within our own city right now. Our youth are just really being lost. No one helping them to have a plan and a direction. So you want to talk about how with the police and the violence and all of that. Have a plan for your 20s. When you graduate from high school, have a plan. And when you graduate,
You would think the students more direction coming out, but they're actually not getting that type of direction. So if they're not getting the direction from the school, from the counselor, they're not getting the direction from the parent in the home. If you don't educate your child, the school will. So when they get into their 20s, they should have a direction, whether they're going to work, whether they're going to go into the service, whether they're going to go to college, because what we're finding is the lack of a plan is actually the result of all the killings that we're being faced with now, with the young kids killing each other. If they had something to had a plan, if they had a direction, then that would cut down on the amount of violence that we're seeing every day, not only in our city, but all around the world. So it's very important that they capture and they grasp where they want to go and what they want to do with in their 20s, so that by the time that they get to their 30s, then they'll have some direction, be settled, and pretty much know what direction they're going to go in as far as career is concerned, as far as marriage is concerned, children are concerned. But they definitely have to have a plan of action, because without that, you're going to lose the generation.
In fact, one of the things that Dr. J says in the book, she says that 80% of life defining moments will happen by the time you're age 35.
Right.
So if you wanted an increase in your salary, you want to make more money, it's important to have a plan in your 20s because, again, before you know this is by, and you look up and you're like, okay, now I'm 35 old. I'm not where I be in my career. What am I doing with myself? I kicked it all in my 20s,
Right.
and when you think about that, which is what we'll talk about next week, the mishaps that can occur in your 20s. So now we're talking about how do you guys stay on that path when you're in your 20s? Path. It's just so important to have a plan. As Dr. Jones said, you definitely want to have a plan. And Dr. J, she talks about that same thing. Like people will say when someone has a talent or a skill, they're like, oh, they're just a natural. They're natural. Can you imagine? Okay, I'm 20 years old and I'm a natural. I naturally articulate. I naturally know which direction I want to go in. But when you think about it, is that really the case? According to Dr. J and Molson, because they began those skills early on in life. And I equate everything. I go back to my own child. When I think about it, at 2 years old, I was putting her in front of people to talk. She was 2. I would have events at the house. I do a lot of Black History programs. And it's like, okay, baby, yeah, you can be in it. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. So here she is, 20 years old. If you think about it, for 18 years, she's been prepared for that stage. So if she doesn't seem shy to you guys, it's because it started when she was 2. So I'm telling you, it really does. It begins at home. Begin with the reading, the exposure, preparing them. So by the time they turn 20, they should now either they're going to be in college, they're going to be working, or whatever their career choice is that they decided to do. Now they're on that path to making a difference. When I think about it in my own 20s, I got married in my 20s. I was 26 years old when I got married. I got married, started having kids. Honestly, guys, when you think about it, you don't want kids too late in life because I had a child a little later and he's like 11 now. And I'm going, okay, I should have finished all that in my 20s. And I should have been done with that in my 20s, not in my 40s. So, but I wasn't 40 when I had him, guys. But I just know that according to Dr. J and just seeing what happened now having, a daughter that and I think you too, Dr. Jones, has a daughter of that age.
Yeah.
Just being able to get them to move in the right direction. I found what was really interesting also is that she talked about people who are values of weak ties and strong ties. So now this is really interesting, guys. I want y'all to really pay attention to this. Weak ties versus strong ties. Now, strong ties will be people that come into your life like your family and your friends. Those are strong ties, but those aren't the ones who are going to make a difference in your career. It's going to be those weak ties. Let me give you an example. For example, back to my daughter again. She is 20 years old, goes to Boston College. She had an opportunity. Boston is a pretty prestigious college on the East Coast. She had an opportunity to sit down because she's so she had an opportunity to sit down at $100,000 table. So that's $10,000 per plate, right? $10,000 per plate. She sits at this table. So you can imagine there are some influential people there. There are some people with some rocking and some going on. Had an opportunity talk to the ESPN, not ESPN, I'm sorry, talk to the director of the athletic department for Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
So she talked to the director of Boston athletic director, and he likes what she talks about. He likes the fact, that she's a scholar. Said to her, he said, "So what's your major?" She said, "Communications." He said, "Oh, I know some, I have some connections at ESPN, some pretty big connections at ESPN. Perhaps you can get an internship at ESPN." Now, mind you guys, this is a weak tie. This is not
Mm-hmm.
someone that she knows. This is just, she had an opposite at a table. Now, I get, some of you guys are probably like, yeah, you're talking about $100,000 table. You want to say that's a weak tie, but that really isn't. But it is because she doesn't know the people. So I have another example, though. Now, the other example is my cousin's daughter. She's a waitress, not a waitress, but a hostess at Buffalo Wild Wings. Hostess at Buffalo Wild Wings. She noticed that there was a family sitting at the table that hadn't been served for a while. She was going, wow, I noticed you guys. She went over to them. She said, I know you've been sitting here for a while. Let me serve you. Let me take your order and I'll get it to the waitress. So, because of her personality and how bubbly she was, like 19 years old, which I think she's like 21 now, or she's 20 years old. Anyway, it hasn't been long. It's about a year ago. So because of her pleasant personality, the guy he said to her, he said, what are you doing now? Are you in college or you go to college? She's like, no, I'm not in college right now. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I just graduated from high school and I'm trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. He said, well, do you like computers? She said, yeah, I like computers. He said, I tell you what, he gives her his card. He's the CEO of a big company in Atlanta. And he says, because of your personality, this is what I'm going to do for you. Go to the local college. What district do you live in? This is him asking. What district do you live in? Go to the local college, and I want you to take this class. Now, this is a class, computer class. Weeks long. It's not a very long program. When you finish this class, now mind you guys, she's about 20 years old. When you finish this class, I am going to assure you that you'll get a job at my company, and I'll start you off at $60,000 a year. Wow, $60,000 a year for a 20-year-old. Not bad. Not bad at all. That's a weak tie. Now, ask me, guys, did she go? No, she didn't go because she's only 20. I'm going to kick it. I'm going to hang with my boyfriend a little bit. I'm going to kick it. I don't want to do this right now. I'm not going to do that. But see, the type of mother I am, I'd have been like, really? But I'm just telling you guys, when you get that opportunity, take advantage of that weak tie because that weak tie is going to open up for you. And you figure if the weak tie starts to like you because you're a pleasant person, you guys are hitting it off pretty well, they're going to look out for you even more so. So you guys in your 20s, don't be prepared to kick it all the time. Understand that when opportunity knocks at the door, take advantage of it. Maybe you're not quite ready. I get it. Maybe you want to hang with your friends. I get it. I get it. You want to party. You want to have a good time. I get it. However, this can put you on the path to go in a different direction. So, hey, when that weak tie come your way, recognize it. Recognize that weak tie.
Not only recognize it, act on it. Because when that type of opportunity comes along, you have to grab it. It isn't something that's going to come by again. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity when something like that happens to you. And taking advantage of that opportunity could actually propel you into your destiny. Unbeknownst to you, so you really, really, really pay attention. And you have to act on things like that. So she's going to make 60 grand and she doesn't even have a bachelor's degree.
Nope.
Wow. Do you know how much students make that come out with bachelor's degrees? Do you know what the average salary is for someone with a bachelor's degree?
It depends on what you're in.
Well, not even the bachelor's degree are paying anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000. That's the average salary for someone with a bachelor's degree.
And social services for certain.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily social services. You look at the insurance industry. If you go into insurance, you're looking at about 25 grand. Yeah.
Just can play a little more, but you're right. Overall, they're not. And that's a weak tie that at this moment, I think, she has let get away. And as far as with my daughter, I told her, I said, make sure you stay in touch with your tie. Send them an email every now and then. Say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Hey, I'm about to study abroad. Guys, as Dr. Jones say, take advantage. Take advantage of those weak ties.
Not only that, you've heard the cliche, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Networking is so key in the employment industry that we must take advantage of it. People propel and get to their who they know, whether or not you could zero. Just based on your networking and whether or not they like you. They can put everything in place for you. Like you should take that class, you know, so you and recognize your opportunity. You still have to be focused on what you're going to do in life, because when you're in your 20s, you should be propelling. Where am I going to be when I get 40? Where am I going to be when I'm 30 years old? Where am I going to be when I'm 50 years old? What type of retirement plan am I going to have? I don't know whether you know it or not, but your Social Security is going to be contingent on how much you made in life. The amount of money that you get for Social Security is what you made, what you brought to the table. So if you had a low-paying job, you're not going to get very much in Social Security, so you're not going to be able to retire and live off of that.
Wow, good point.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I'm telling you, your 20s are so important. You can actually write your own story. For instance, a good author of a book, you think that, you know, you always hear they sit down and they say, okay, in the beginning, this is how this began. You know, honestly, the best author, he writes the story, he writes the line at the end. He writes his finishing line. Then he works his way up. So he writes his finishing line and then he works to the middle. Then he goes to the beginning. So I say that to you guys, you can write your own story when you're in your 20s. You may not know what you want necessarily. I get that. But you know what you don't want. Like, for instance, I knew that I didn't want anyone to smoke cigarettes. I knew that I didn't want anyone that didn't have a college degree. I knew that I didn't want anyone that didn't have a focus in life or didn't have the values that I had. Those are the things that I knew in my 20s. I still couldn't tell you exactly what I wanted, but I can tell you what I didn't want. I say to you, and according to the book that we're talking about, defining the decades of your 20s, take advantage. Write your own story. You know, as Dr. Jones just got through saying, have a plan. Own story. You can write your story. So don't blow off the 20s. Don't kick it all the time. You're going to kick it sometime. You're going to have a good time. I'm not telling you not to have fun. You know, I did. I had fun. But have a plan. Have a plan. It's so important. Write your own story. You want to talk about happiness? 90% of your happiness is determined by 90% of it.
Wow.
Have a plan. Tell you guys how you can write that story.
Well, it's important to really therapeutic to have a journal. Keep a journal. Write down goals that you have that you want to meet. Go back, revisit those goals, check them off as you meet those goals, and have timelines to achieve those goals. Because without a plan, the Bible, if you don't have a vision, my people perish. So you got to have a vision. You got to have a plan. You got to visit that plan and make sure that what you set out is working. Life is about. I mean, it's not just about living life because you're in your 20s going out and partying. It's about preparation. Mm-hmm. So you have to prepare yourself at the age of 20 as to where you want to go in life.
That's true.
And you have to prepare yourself, you know, and if you don't prepare yourself, you're going to 40, 50 with no plan and not enough money to survive on.
So guys, we want you to go out and get the book. Think about all the stuff that we said. The name of the book is The Defining Decade: How to Take Advantage of Your 20s by Dr. Meg J. We're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, we're going to have a life message for you. And we're going to close out the show. So we'll see you in a moment. Make sure you come back to Live Life on Intellectual Radio. All right, guys, welcome back to Live Life on Intellectual Radio. Right now, Dr. Jones is going to give you our life message.
Okay. I was looking and I saw a very interesting talk piece by M. Miles. And I thought that it would be very fitting for the show because we're focusing on live life. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, there comes a time in your life when you walk away from all the drama and the people who create it. You surround yourself with people who can make you laugh. Forget the bad and focus on the good. Love the people who treat you right. Pray for the ones who don't. Life is too short to be anything but happy.
Wow, that is profound. And definitely ties into Live Life, guys. It ties into Live Life. That's what the show is about. We're trying to get you to live life, to enjoy life. So next week, we're going to talk about the mishaps of your 20s, as we just got through talking about finding the decade of your 20s. Talk about the mishaps. God knows there are a lot of things that could go wrong in the 20s. So we're hoping that through series for this month, you're going to get something out of it. You're going to have an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to get on a different path. I'm going to take away some information that I can actually use and it make a difference in your life. So with that, I'm going to end the show, and I'm going to end the show the same way every time. And this quote is by Sheldon Kopp. He said, the unlived life is not worth examining. The unlived life is not worth examining. Guys, we'll see you live life on radio. So we'll see you next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Bye-bye.